Hey everybody, welcome to week 3. I know we are technically into August now.
I know.
It's been life, but this is part of what we're talking about in this of you got to go with the flow and work with what works in your life. So this week, what we're going to cover is a concept that we've been playing with. Anna raised her eyebrow at me when I told her this. It's like
I did.
we're gonna talk
Like,
about
what?
putting your nails in the greenhouse. We'll tell you more about what that means. We're going to touch briefly on habit loops. We've talked about that in 2 other videos. In the January 30-day challenge, we went into detail about habit loops, and also, excuse me, also in the original nail bite pick videos that we put together a couple years ago now. We also talk about habit loops there, but we're going to touch on them. So if you want more, we have more information in past videos, and we'll link to those.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about peeling. We're going to talk about breaking, and then the super exciting weird stuff. And if you have insomnia late at night and you want to go to sleep, I highly recommend that you avoid looking up Google images for nail health issues.
It's very disturbing.
Very disturbing. You'll have nightmares.
Very.
All right. So in week 2, we talked about this, the nail growth life cycle. So we're just going to reiterate again because we're going to talk about this throughout it. So with your nails, if we compare them to a tree, there are different seasons. And so in each season and also in each phase of life, different things are going on in your nails and in a tree. So in this instance, we're defining 12 o'clock as nubbins or below. So if you have damage or something else like that, you're in the beginning of spring. So you're transitioning from the end of winter into spring. And what I liked about these images, we normally think of 4 seasons, but yeah, there are 4 seasons, but within each season, there are different variations.
Mm-hmm.
So you go from winter or early spring when the tree is just starting to come back to life. There aren't any leaves yet, but the tree is actively working on creating more leaves and all that stuff. Same with your nails. Your nail matrix is always creating those cells and pushing them forward. So you're not going to see any visible results. Look, I have a free edge. Oh my gosh. So this for me is like fall, full on fall. It's like this is
fall.
Danger of falling apart at any time.
And you look at it and your fall looks like, if we're looking at this image, it looks like before, is that summer at 3 o'clock?
Yep. 3 o'clock is summer.
Yeah.
Full summer. So
beginning of summer. Oh, look, there's a thing in the middle.
Look at that. Hi there.
So yeah, yours are starting to get longer and entering into summer, which
so for me,
dangerous.
It is dangerous, and everyone's length, their version of summer. Let's think about it like on the globe. So summer in Alaska is full on. It's way different than summer around the equator. The length of the day, the variations, and all those things. So it changes depending on where you are in your life, where you're on the planet. That also affects it.
Where you're on the planet, because your weather
affects the health of your nails. So there are all of these things to consider. So I know most of us, society tells us we want long, beautiful nails. Like this is full on summer with a tree full of fruit. This is like beautiful. It's like amazing. It's stunning. And I could get into math, like the tangents and stuff. It's like when you're at the top of a curve, you're actually the top, you're also on the way down. So it's that moment. You're never going to hold still. It's always moving. Life is always moving, and that's just part of being alive. As soon as you stop moving, you die. And then Mother Nature takes your used parts back. Recycle.
And somewhere in there, our nail clippers are our pruning tools.
So there are all sorts of analogies that we can extrapolate from this. But in any case, we want you guys to focus and kind of observe where you are in your own seasons, in your own part of your life and the world and all of that. And just kind of when you change your mindset of this is just a phase, this too shall pass, there's a time and a season, everything under heaven, all of those quotes and parables and stuff, it applies to your fingernails too. How weird is that? So as you go through, we just want you to pay attention to what season you're in with your nails, like the spring with the beautiful flowers, and it's so pretty. It's still like it's not full on summer with a fruit on the tree yet. And then fall, it's also very beautiful, and it's also the beginning of the end for this cycle of these nails. So,
and with that analogy that you're using, and I am doing a lot more pruning on the property.
mm-hmm.
And one of the things was like some of the flowers, like daisies, if you just hack off a third of it, all of a sudden in about 3 weeks, you've got more daisies.
Yep.
And so it's like this as well. If you can extend your summer, if you can extend your summer
yep.
for years, if you have figured out what that is, mm-hmm. and keep pruning and maintain it.
And so to draw that analogy a little further, that is daisies, and daisies have their specific thing. You hack them off, you water them, and they keep going for days. They're mad. They're awesome. There are other flowers like roses you need to prune in specific seasons so that you don't expose them to pests or to fungus or to other things like that. Same with fruit trees. There's a certain season that you do that pruning or that specific type of care. Or like with the African violets, they need regular fertilizing to maintain their bloom. So it's figuring out you and your unique stuff and all of that, which brings us to the greenhouse. So here's the greenhouse analogy. The greenhouse effect. We're not going to do that, but there it is. but what this allows us to do, if we take this analogy to the greenhouse, of if we're wanting to extend your summer and fall nails, if we're wanting to increase this life cycle and avoid this where it breaks hardcore, or they all just start chipping, or then we have the ouch, ouch, ouch breaks.
Right.
How do we extend this? Well, let's look at the greenhouse analogy. So for plants, the advantages of greenhouses, it protects it from cold. It can help with too much heat so that you can control the temperature. If there's a drought, you're able to maintain the humidity, optimal humidity within. Like you can have fans, you can have misters, you can do all sorts of things in greenhouses.
Exactly.
Floods can also be too bad for plants. So as long as your greenhouse isn't flooded.
So flooding would be when doing your dishes for about 30 minutes with lots of hot water and no gloves.
Yep. Or taking a long bath, or soaking in a hot tub, or swimming daily, or any of those things that, that strips away the natural thing. So if you think about in the earth, if there's a flood, it can wash away all of the nutrients and the topsoil and everything that plants need to hold on to grow. Same thing with water. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. And the greenhouses, they also protect from extreme weather. They protect from pests. They can actually also increase pests. You can have real problems in the greenhouse, and also malnourishment. If it's in your contained thing, you're able to keep an eye on it and maintain it and adjust for things that you can't necessarily control when it's out in nature. So,
and I have found that with some of my hanging plants and stuff. I've been having trouble with white flies this year. And so I have found that when my hanging plant starts to not look so great, guess what? It goes straight back in the greenhouse. I'm able to monitor it better. I'm able to spray it with oils, neem oil. And so it really takes it to then exactly this of protecting your nails from the elements. And so I'll let you keep going.
That's what we're going to do. So we're going to talk about that. So gloves, obviously, fantastic way to protect your nails and your skin, especially for me where I have the psoriasis and eczema. I really as I'm looking at all of the boxes in my new place, danger boxes. So it's stuff that strips the oils away that causes problems. So speaking of stripping oils away, like we talked about, one of the hazards that increase your risk for nail breaks, one of these elements we want to protect our nails from is water.
Water is a big deal because the nail plate can absorb 1/3 its weight in water, which kind of doesn't sound like much, but it's a lot. And so water is the universal solvent. So it actually kind of will dissolve water, pull it away. It's kind of like that flood thing. Mm-hmm. And it just pulls the oils out of your nails. Now, your nail bed, the pink part, that's pumping plenty of water and oil from your body, but your nail tips aren't getting it. And so they are drying out like crazy because of water. It's pushing the layers apart because the nail plate can actually, the water is the only thing that can get through, gets around every cell, but then it also goes through every cell.
I have an image of that. Let's look at.
Where do you have that?
It's
I don't think you do in this one.
It was last week's.
was last week's.
The week before. Shoot. So keep talking about water.
Yeah. I was going to say my screen would be too small. I'd show the picture.
Nope, there's Doug.
Were you zipping through last week?
Okay, yep.
There we go.
So these are the holes. So this is where water is penetrating. So this is looking down on top of your nail in a scanning electron microscope. These are the joints so if you think of, like, we talked about it, like if you had 3 toilet paper rolls, I don't have 3 nail pens by me right now. If you put them all together, the connection of 3 points, there's a hole in the middle. I don't have a 3 thing.
I have 3 pens. Hold, please.
Okay. I have 1. Do you want to borrow it?
But I don't know how well it's going to show up because of your screen. So
try it at home. If you have like 3 toilet paper rolls or 3 pens or something like that, in between all of those 3, there's a tiny gap. So even though that they're touching on all the sides, there's still a gap. So it's the same thing with your nail structure. There's that joint place where it leaves a little small microscopic hole, which is where the water seeps through. And this is also where...
This picture doesn't show it very well, but there's all of these microscopic holes. But it doesn't show the fact that there's like all of the holes in the individual cells.
Yeah.
And so it soaks up the water like a sponge. And when it dries out, it doesn't seem to be like logical, but it pulls the oils with it.
Yep. Well, I mean, it's like when you're doing... No. We're going to skip that. That was a bad analogy. Okay. I'll zip that one up. So water is an issue. I was going to talk about something else there, but it went away. Water. Okay, it's gone.
It'll come back to you later.
Right along, or it won't, and we'll carry on. So another area of where you're using your nails. Of course, babies are dangerous in general, just because, one, I know we have several people in our group who have new babies or young kids. It's just, you're always washing your hands. You're changing diapers. You're buckling and unbuckling car seats. You're tying shoes. You're dealing with Velcro. You're opening jars. Like, everything about having kids is a danger to your nails. And that's okay. So that's part of what the season that you're in your life, in addition to the season that's going on with your nails. You're just in more danger of all of that. So it's, it's like
I was in
season.
I was in winter for like a decade.
Yeah. So these types of things, one of the things you can do, I know it doesn't work necessarily on the car seat buckle because they're so hard to hold. But you can go to, what is the website for the car seat key? I don't remember.
It may be carseatkey.com.
Carseatkey.com. We have a few left that we're selling. We probably won't be continuing these in the future. There just wasn't enough demand that it was taking up space in our warehouse. So it's still a great product. It absolutely is. It's wonderful. So for those of you who have young kids, or if you're a grandma or grandpa and you want to preserve your nails, there's a visual. Da-da-da-da.
Visual. So that slides onto the button, and then you squish it, and it just all of these little things just pop right out.
It's amazing. So for your own seat belt, you can use your knuckle to unbuckle. Just different options of paying attention to where your nails are. So if you had, let's think about a tree. If you had a big long branch that's getting a little bit dry, you're not going to want to go poking things with it because it's going to break if you're wanting to maintain the length. Again, huge danger. Dishes. So dangerous.
And laundry too. Do you have that one?
I don't have laundry. That is another really good one.
Laundry is a big deal, especially jeans and towels.
Because they're so heavy.
They're so heavy, even though they've been spun to death. Mm-hmm. So definitely kitchen gloves in the laundry room as well.
Yep. So we have the Clean One gloves, which are fantastic, available.
My favorite.
They're
I don't understand how they do it, but the flocking inside doesn't crumble.
It doesn't crumble and get under your nails and have that horrible smell, which is wonderful. And I know that a lot of the girls in the group do a mini hydration and put their dish gloves over it. So when Anna and I were going through these slides, we were also talking about you don't want to get too sweaty in your gloves.
Right.
So each of us have different amounts of sweat that we produce. I tend to be a sweaty beast.
Me, not so much.
What I've found with my particular skin and sweat gland production and nail structure if I leave my gloves on when I'm super sweaty, the sweat does the same effect as water would and starts to actually strip away the oil and
plump. It is water.
The nail. It is water with a few other body chemicals, ammonia and stuff. I won't tell you some random facts about sweat because that's gross. But but it will plump up your nails. And so for me, if I get sweaty while I'm doing a hydration treatment, if I don't take off my gloves, wipe it off, dry out the gloves or get a new pair and start over again, I will have more peeling. The polish will lift, the nails will peel. I have super peely nails anyway. Just call me a banana and peel me. So be aware of that and pay attention to what goes on with your skin as well. So Anna, you mentioned when you're out gardening, if you do the mini hydration or mega hydration.
I end up too sweaty.
Sweaty?
Okay, yeah, it was like
the sweat.
Literally dripping down my arms. And then what it did was it flattened my C curve. And that's what happens in the shower. Because the water gets in there and it relaxes the curve of your nail plate and pushes all those layers apart. So you have to sort of you need to do the hydration treatment when your body is a little bit cooler.
And that's what I've also really enjoyed about the new body balm formula for hands is the extra beeswax seems to still stick things together more than the lotion stick does. So I personally have a little bit better results on hot days with the body balm in avoiding the extra
I will try that
sweat absorption. So there's that. Another one, super dangerous, is making your darn bed. Those darn sheets.
I get my husband to do it.
That's great.
You don't have one.
And Elvis doesn't do the bed. He's really good at sitting on the bed and getting in the way when I try and make the bed, but that's about it.
And being the adorable kitty that he is.
He's sleeping right now. He's so cute. So when making the bed, it's the go slow, be very deliberate, be mindful of where your fingers are, reach first with your knuckles first, and, just pay attention to where your fingers are. And then stuff like zippers. So not just zippers, but buttons or pulling your pants up or unbuckling your bra or whatever it is.
Right.
Like just be mindful of where your fingers are going because we want to protect your nails from the elements. And these are, this is just a handful of examples of different dangers to your nails. So in controlling the conditions. So let's talk about that a little bit more. Of course, the hydration treatments. They're fantastic. We want to replenish the oils that are getting stripped away from a daily basis, and not just from daily life, but if you think about the tree, the reason it gets so beautiful is the tree knows that it's time to hibernate because winter is coming. And so it starts focusing its energy on the root system and storing stuff for winter. Well, what does that do? It leaves the leaves high and dry. Literally, they're high and dry, and they dry out. They don't get any more chlorophyll, not chloroform. They don't get chloroform either. And so that's what creates the green goes away. We get the beautiful colors, and then they dry up and fall down, and they're fun to crunch in, and then they can cause havoc for your lawn if you don't rake them up. But anyway, so it's kind of the same thing with your nails. If you were able to hydrate a leaf, like somehow trick the tree into thinking winter's not coming, that's kind of what this does. Is it's keeping those leaves not moisturized, hydrated. It still has that life stuff, so it doesn't get brittle. We want to avoid the brittle. And we talked a lot about this in the week 2 stuff about strength, toughness. What are all the strength, toughness?
Strength, flexibility, toughness. I usually forget one.
And that's the surface one, hardness.
Hardness.
So what we want, let me just flip back to that slide real quick. Real quick.
Maybe real quick.
Here it is. So we want tough nails, and tough is the combination of strong and flexible.
Plus flexible, yeah.
We need the flexibility because if you have the strong, and this is the challenge with nail strengtheners and using them long term, especially when your nails are longer, if it's just strong, it's not flexible. So if you think of like your muscles, if you're a bodybuilder, you lose range of motion if you just are lifting weights. Your muscles shorten, and when they shorten, they're at higher risk of tearing, which is why stretching is super important and the flexibility. So the hydration treatments help both the flexibility and the strength by maintaining the layers, and also the Fab 5 polish wrap on top of that. So that adds additional strength.
Right. And what's really important about the gloves is, Doug Schoon, the author of Nail Structure and Product Chemistry, who is my guru, and now my mentor. Is really pretty cool. But he said that when you heat the oils, they can actually penetrate about 50% faster. So that's what the gloves are doing. So you have two choices. You could take the oil, warm it up in the microwave, and then put your fingers in it, do a hot oil treatment like they do at the salon. Or what's easier is
and more effective, less wasteful.
Let your body do the warming up. You use a whole lot less oil.
Yep.
So that's why it's so awesome.
Yes. And then you can go about your daily life.
Yes.
While you're doing it.
Still use your phone.
Wonderful. Hooray. Priorities. Okay. So the next thing that's really helpful and important and annoying in controlling the conditions is your diet and health. Like this is probably the linchpin to everything. You got to eat healthy. Garbage in, garbage out. If you want better output, you need to take care of what you're eating, what you're putting in your body.
Exactly.
Healthy, like whatever style of eating that you're doing, make sure that you're getting enough raw, like vegetables and vitamins and minerals, and like your health too. Health isn't just diet. Health is, are you sick? I have autoimmune disorders. That really messes with my nail health and skin health and everything else. And so it's do what you can to help your body take care of itself, so it's not having to fight so hard. Because as soon as your health is compromised, your body stops focusing on extravagant things like fingernails and focusing on, the frivolities like your brain, your heart, your lungs, your organs, all of the things that keep you alive, So,
your extremities are way out there and surprisingly not so important. And this is why your hands and your feet get cold as you're starting to chill. That's what chills first, because you've got to preserve the core.
The core. Yep. That's where all your guts are. So take care of your guts. So we aren't going to teach a full nutrition class or whatever but do your own research, figure out what works for you if you have allergies or whatever else. So after you're taking care of those basics of diet and health, the supplements, because even if you're getting fresh produce from the store, it's probably a week old, and the vitamins and nutrients and stuff in them start to degrade. And so by the time it sits in your crisper for 3 or 4 days, a lot of that's faded away and on the way of the earth. So if you can, the flash frozen foods, the studies that, it's been a couple of years since I've looked at that, but the flash frozen foods, that actually preserves a lot of the vitamins and stuff in it.
They're healthier than what's in
the produce section.
Yep.
So just be mindful of that. And sometimes even when you're eating a healthy diet, if you have other health conditions, if your guts are not able to fully absorb the nutrients, you're going to have to supplement, and that's okay. So finding good supplements. The biotin is one of the best.
It's very, very helpful for nail structure. Does not work when you put it on top, so it doesn't matter if they put biotin in oil or
nail polish
or polishes, nothing. But
keratin like Jello, nope, not gonna do it.
But it's very important. It does make a difference in terms of your nails growing. But a lot of people, if they take straight biotin, it's an important B vitamin, as you can see by this photo.
Pretty pink too.
I know. But some people, if they take the straight biotin, it makes them break out in acne. If that's an issue, then switch to a hair, nails, and skin formula. Those seem to be a little kinder. I don't know why, but that's because I'm not a nutritionist.
Yeah, I'm not either. And I know like the prenatal vitamins, that'll give you a good, like the folic acid, it's the folic acid, right? That tends to be beneficial for skin and nails.
Yeah, I take the prenatal ones.
So if you can stomach it, just watch out for iron. You don't want to get too much iron because that can jack stuff up too. Okay, so once we've working on hydration to maintain the flexibility and strength, we're addressing our diet and our health. We're taking supplements where we need to. What else do? We polish those babies. Woohoo! Fab 5. So Anna, walk us through this. I know we've preached this and back, but let's preach it one more time.
If you haven't heard it, you're under a rock, that kind of thing.
And if you're under the rock, come on out. It's
I
nice
know,
out
right?
here.
We'll dig you out. So it's basically, I just realized when I was doing all my research and I realized the temporary strength that polish can offer. Then I was like, oh, polish is my friend now. It's nothing to be afraid of. And I don't need a break to let my nails breathe because they're dead.
Yep.
So 2 layers of base coat that is wrapped all the way around your tips. And you're going to talk about that next.
We are.
Yeah. And so you want to wrap the base coat. Then you're going to do 2 colors of top coat just on top. And then 1 color or 1 layer of top coat. Did I say that right?
2 base,
2 layers of
2
color,
1 top.
1 layer of top coat, and that one is wrapped all the way around. Clean up your messes with our wonderful new brush.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And then just rinse your hands if you need to, but for the most part, I just put oil on, and that helps. It actually helps create kind of a slippery surface, so you get less dents as it's drying.
And so the base coat, this is something that we're also doing more experimentation and studies with. Of one base coat can work great for somebody and not as great for other people. And it just depends on your individual nail structure, the density of your nails. So like how many layers you have, how closely they're bonded together, your lifestyle, what's going on, the length of your nails, whether your nails curve down, whether they have C curve, whether they poke up like mine. So when my nails are short, they kind of lift up just slightly, just not too much, but just enough so that as I get the tip wear, it hits it in a way that increases the likelihood of peeling and chipping. So for me, keeping my tips capped is super important, and also finding a base coat that works with you. Some of them actually increase my chipping and peeling, and the one that I'm liking right now is the Jealous American something, and that's working great for me. And so Anna pointed out that that's actually a nail strengthener. And we also have, Anna reminded me, she has an article that she wrote that talks about nail strengtheners and when to use them and when not. that one left my brain and was off.
That one's long.
It is a long one.
Really long, but it's really good.
And it's good information. And it's important, especially as everyone in the group is working on achieving their desired nail length. And people, it's like we're desperate. We just want something to work. Can we just put a one thing on it and just have it work? Well, sometimes, yes. And it's also the annoying things like diet and health and supplements and get enough sleep and
right.
So the cool part about the Fab Five is something that we don't often think about. And this goes back to me annoying my kids about their dental hygiene. My mantra is teeth have 5 sides. When they're like, why do I have to floss? It's like, because teeth have 5 sides. Like, well, what do you mean? And so everybody thinks it's like, how do they have 5 sides? There are. It's like front, one side, back side, top, and side. So that's 5. So same with your nails. Your nails don't have 5 sides. Your nails have 3 sides. You have tip, top, bottom. So that's what the Fab Five does. Is nails have 3 sides, tip, top, bottom. It covers all of those, and you are helping to control the conditions and protect your nails from the elements. We are protecting. So when you have your nails wrapped like that, tip, top, bottom, the water isn't able to access the underside of your free edge or the tip of your nail. And I think I put a photo in here. Did I? Somewhere in here. Yes, I did. This is the free edge of your nail. So if this is not capped, look at all of those spaces between the layers of your nail where water can go in and damage.
And when your nails are a little shorter, and you've got just a little bit of free edge, then you get more tip wear, and so you can have your tips be exposed again within 24 hours.
Yep.
So sometimes for some people, they need to at least cap their tips, like run a little bit of top coat, or completely do a new layer and wrap. And so you'll notice you can only do so many additional layers.
Yep.
That's why when you otherwise, because they start to all shrink. If you've ever seen Christine of Simply No Logical did the, she wasn't the first, but she did the Polish Mountain. So you can see how, and as the layers go up, it keeps shrinking. So that's what happens on our nails too, is it is the polish will shrink on more of the layers. And that's why when you get a strengthener, it says apply a new layer every day for 7 days and then remove it and start again, because you're going to start having problems the more layers you put on. So 5 seems to be pretty ideal.
And so this may be something that you need to experiment with your nails too, because for me, I have found that my nails do better when I just do 1 layer of base coat, but I don't have the deep ridges, so I don't need the 2 layers of ridge filling to smooth that out. So I have a different challenge. So I do better with a single base coat and then 2 of the color and 1 top coat. And I'm still experimenting with different top coats because for me, I experience a lot more of the shrinkage, even if I'm just capping my tips. And when it does that shrinkage thing, it also increases my risk of peeling and chipping. So this is, again, playing with your own body chemistry and the chemistry of the different products. And I've also noticed too, it's like when I get halfway through a bottle, the solvents have evaporated in the polish. And so the consistency and the way that it behaves has also changed on my nails. So just play with the variables, try different things out, test it out, let yourself be your own guinea pig.
Get nail polish thinner. Don't try and use acetone. Use the nail polish thinner. It's like $5 for a 4-ounce bottle.
I've had mine for
forever.
3 years. You buy one that'll last you forever.
I mean, you put in like 15 drops, depending on how thick it is. Sometimes a little bit more, but man, that stuff is awesome.
It is.
It really helps.
It is. So those are the ways to help control the conditions and protect your nails from the environment. I'm sure there are more out there, but this is what we're covering today. So let's talk a little bit about how this applies, like habit loop.
This is your cup of tea. I'll let you take over. This is my
red zone. So, all right, it's one thing to say we're going to control the conditions and protect our nails from the environment and different hazards. All right, well, what does that look like? We can talk about it once, but are we going to keep doing it? Not if we don't change our habit loops and make it a part of our daily routine. So like I said, we've talked about this in detail in the last 30-day challenge and in the nail bite pick videos that we put together. So we'll have links to those in the comments, not the comments, the caption below. So just to recap, there are 4 different phases in a habit loop. You have a cue of something that reminds you to do something, or like we're going to talk about nail biting and picking. So, I just have a rough spot right here. That is an external environmental cue.
Right there.
Yep. So that would be a rough spot would be an example of an external trigger. An internal trigger is like, oh my God, I just opened my email and I have to deal with this. So that's stress.
Like Corey.
So also, like, I'm going to bite them off. So after you get the cue, there's a moment where it's like, so you feel the rough spot, and then it because it happens so fast in our brain, it doesn't seem like it's an individual step, but it triggers a craving. And so the craving automatically triggers the response. It's like, oh, rough spot, need to chew it, response to chew it.
Go away.
And then the reward is like, oh, now I'm bleeding, or oh, now I don't have the rough spot, but I created more problems, or whatever else it is. So we have the 2 phases. We have the problem phase, which is cue craving, the solution phase, reward response. So the moment where you have control over what your results are going to be is in between this 2 and 3, the craving and response. So let's look at that and that. So if you struggle with biting and picking, join us in the nail group. We have one that's specifically for biting and picking. Yep. We also have a lot of people who bite pick in the Bliss at Nail Bar. So either of those places is a wonderful, happy, safe place to help you figure out what works for you and what doesn't. So tying this into this image that we use with the nail biting picking habit loop, the trigger impulse. So this is you can see here the key is like a wind up monkey that makes the clapping that's really annoying. It's like you're on autopilot. You have that impulse, and then you do the routine and you get the reward. Even if the reward is negative, it is still some form of reward. So what we want to do is right here in this step right here is the impulse choice. We want to make it a choice instead of just an autopilot, automatic response of changing. So instead of like, oh, I have a rough spot, I need to do something about it. You're like, oh, don't pick it, click it. Or, yep, that's right. Don't pick it, click it. And you, instead of doing that, you trim the little loose spot. You file the rough spot down. You oil it. You use the lotion stick. And you change your results. And that's how
and you
that
get
works.
the happy reward, because you had it in the other thing was up in the habit 238 was that you're getting a reward from the biting, but yeah, and the reward is what? It's a negative reward.
Mm-hmm.
But
so if you think of kids that are acting out because they need attention, they will take negative attention as attention or positive attention. And so if they learn at a young age, if I need mom's attention, I just say, mom, 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 until she goes crazy and like, what? Even though mom is screaming, mom is paying attention. And we can get into a lot of other things. So one of the challenges with negative rewards is because a lot of the time it involves adrenaline. Adrenaline cements things with massive exclamation points in your brain. So that becomes your 5-lane highway in your brain, and you can actually get more addicted to negative rewards than a positive reward. Because your brain is trying to protect you. So it gives you adrenaline to, hey, this is a thing. And so your brain can't necessarily differentiate between a negative habit loop reward and a positive one because the extra adrenaline confuses signals.
Wow.
So, after being in an abusive relationship, I can absolutely relate to how you get addicted to those negative cycles. And it is a real thing, like Stockholm syndrome, all of that stuff. Brains are amazing at helping us survive, and they don't always point us in the right direction. So that's why it's so important to be aware of and pay attention of the impulse and choice, to make a conscious choice and choose the actions you're going to take to control the rewards that you're going to get.
Right.
So let's break this down. I won't go through it exactly, but I'll just breeze through it. So if you're at a stoplight and you're bored, instead of biting your nails or whatever. So the cue and trigger would be you're at a stoplight and you feel a little bored. Craving impulse comes in when you run your fingers over and you realize they're a little dry. So instead of biting or picking, the solution phase where you can take action and achieve change, you pull out your nail oil pen and hydrate while you wait. And there you go. And so it changes your reward. You satisfy that boredom that was going on. And while you're waiting, so your nails bend instead of break, and oiling your nails, your brain begins to associate stoplights with oiling your nails. Ta-da!
Yep.
That's how that works. So here are a couple more. So typing in your computer, you sit down and you look at your hands, are a little dry, or you're like feeling stuff. So the response, remember to swipe before you type. So you can have and helping yourself remember those of, have a pen right on your computer, on your laptop. Keep it nearby. Have it handy. That's why we have the starter kit with 4. It's why we have the travel kit, so you can keep it with you. Make it easy, accessible for your brain to see, here's a visible option to changing what my results are by doing that. So again, don't pick it, click it. Go slow to grow. Be mindful of what you're doing with your hands. Lead with knuckles first instead of fingers first. Netflix and Bliss, like when you're watching the latest Game of Thrones, actually that's all done, or whatever the next thing is. Oh, I just started Orange is the New Black. Oh my gosh, the new one. Holy crap. So like when you get like the anxious or bored or whatever it is, you can do good for your nails instead of bad, which is fabulous. Pee before you polish.
Oh my gosh. We can all relate to this, except for the gentleman in our group.
Well, maybe the gentleman can too. I don't know. Anyway, and then remember, your nails are jewels, not tools. So if you're opening a pop can, if you are opening a plastic seal, like a safety seal, if you're getting your keys off of your key ring, don't use your fingernails. It's bad.
Yep. I use keys, I use pens, I use...
The stapler removers are great for keys, for removing keys off a keychain. It's a fabulous
tool. Yeah!
Those are wonderful.
Well, I have jewelry pliers that do that too, because I need it. But yeah, that's a great idea.
One of the gals in our group, she shared the little thumb rubber grippy things that I used to use when I worked at the post office that you use for paper. She uses those to open her polish bottles. Boom!
Boom!
Amazing.
Brilliant.
So you can get a box of those for like $1 or $2.
Yeah.
And just have them on hand so that you aren't using your nails. Nails are jewels, not tools. All right. Here we go.
Okay, here gets scissors.
Nail issues. All right. So here are a few of the things, and we're not going to cover, this is not a comprehensive thing. We're just going to talk about some of the most common ones that we've seen come up. and some that are, we're talking about them because they can also be indicative of serious health conditions. So as we get into this, I want to just reemphasize, and I'll reemphasize it again, that we are not doctors. No. We are not here to make a diagnosis. That's your doctor's job, and please let your doctor do their job, his or her job. Yep. It's so important. We love you guys. We want you to be safe. So yep. Peeling nails, this is a common thing, not necessarily a health issue. It can be, like if you have a thyroid issue, like I do, I have Hashimoto's, stuff like that, that can increase peeling. So nail enhancements, application and removal. So this includes nail polish, guys. Nail polish is a nail enhancement. Yes. So it's not just gels and acrylics. It is polish as well. If you remove it wrong, if you apply it wrong, if you pick it off.
Yep.
Bad news.
And, and then the damage from the nail enhancement ones, even like you put here the application, it's like, if they're grinding down half of your nail plate, that's going to be a problem. And it's not necessary anymore. So it's really important to find a good nail professional if you are choosing to spoil yourself this way.
Yep. And it is okay to get acrylics or gels. We're not saying don't do it. We're just saying make sure it's done properly to preserve the health of your nails.
There are nail professionals, and they post on Instagram when they take off the acrylic, and the nails look fantastic. They look like they did not have acrylic on them. So the product chemistry these days is so good that it doesn't need you don't have to make your fingernails all basically fuzzy, is what they were doing, so that the product had something to adhere to. You don't need that anymore.
And so again, everybody's going to have different results depending on your individual genetic structure and like how much your nails and nail plate push up the water and oil. That's going to affect the way that it adheres to your nail plate.
Yep.
It can break the bond. So it's yes, it can be okay, and it cannot be okay for some people. It just depends on you. So it's figure out what works for you. So
like we'll hit on horizontal tears and the vertical splits and water damage.
All that stuff.
We're going to get into some of those. So yeah.
So here we go. So this is like extreme horror, terror, tears. Yeah. This is going to be 6 months to 12 months to fully.
And about 6 months for it to go from the cuticle line to the average Doug says is 4 months, but some people, if their nails.
What we've seen is if you've had these on for a long time, it can, if they continue to damage it like this, it can damage your nail matrix where the cells are made. So especially if they're doing Russian manicure type things and intruding and breaking the seal of the proximal fold, you're opening yourself up to a world of hurt, physically, emotionally, all of those things.
And the thing is, one of the things too is, the nail enhancements. I mean, Doug actually even says nail polish. These things shouldn't touch your skin. And some people say, well, it's impossible. No, it is possible, because I have polished my nails and never touched my skin. I've got, do more practice and you get better at it.
Practice. I'm not very good at it yet. I'm getting better.
Yeah. It took me a while. With acrylic and gel, those chemical components should not touch your skin. And it's not quite an issue if your skin is intact. It's when, like the Russian manicure, or if you've had somebody hit you with that nail file a little bit too much. It seems like a lot of people go to the salon. It's hard to file your nails and all of this without, especially if they've got the acrylic and they're trying to smooth it, for them to not hit your skin with that file. So then now you've got an open wound, and now these chemicals that are not supposed to touch your skin are getting in there, and you can get an allergy very fast.
Especially if you have other skin conditions like I have, psoriasis, eczema.
Yep.
I am already I have always had sensitive skin since I was a kid. And these allergies, if you develop an allergy to acrylics or to gel, it's lifelong. You're done. And the more allergies your body develops, the more allergies your body develops. So it kind of snowballs. So it does. We want to avoid, and it's like I've worked with my younger son with his allergies of, you've got to calm the immune system down and reduce the load of what it's trying to do to protect itself, because as it continues to get more allergies, it continues to think more and more things are threats. And so it can just snowball and you cause a whole lot of problems. So again, cannot emphasize enough the importance of going to a qualified, skilled nail tech if you're going to do it. If you're doing it yourself, read all of Anna's articles. Be super, super careful. We really don't want to. And so and this is one of the challenges with those in our nail bite pick group who use the enhancements to help them grow their nails out. Well, it's great and it can be fine. And you are at a higher risk because your proximal fold, your seals, your guardian seals have been compromised from the biting and picking and damage. It is damage.
Yeah.
So just be careful, use caution, all that stuff. Horizontal tears. This happens.
Mother Nature made it so that this is supposed to happen.
Yep.
If we get stressed to our nails, they are supposed to tear that way. And it's so that to be able to protect so that it doesn't tear into your nail bed.
Ow! And then you cry. So this is an example of, like, if we think of the fall analogy, it's fall in this snail's life, and that leaf just fell off the branch.
And got stepped on.
A little more forcefully, I guess, than just falling off. But that's part of it. So that's the horizontal tears. So this is our lovely Sue.
Hey, Sue.
Hi, Sue. Thanks.
Yeah.
She has a vertical split that is most likely going to be there for the rest of her life. When she was young, she smashed her finger, and so it damaged the nail matrix.
You're good. Just in that area, so it makes a really, really thin place.
So as
it's thin enough that it stays attached to the nail bed.
Yep.
But once it hits the free edge and it's drying out, it's like it. And plus with the external pressure, that really thin area splits. And so people are thinking that the ridges is what's causing it. No, it's that groove right in between those two ridges.
Beware the groove. Let me give you this image. So we talked about this last week too. So for Sue, her groove, because of the damage to her matrix, so this is looking at it from the side, so cross section of her, because her nail matrix was damaged, this groove is deeper. Very deep. So it's very, very deep. So she probably only has like a very minimal amount of actual nail cells that grow out. And once they do grow out and they dry, it just, without doing anything, just the dryness, it splits. Yep. So, that happens. If you have a vertical split like that, be aware of this. So one of the things that Sue has found is she does like the Orly nail rescue acrylic dip that I've also tried. Yep. So she's able to just go in and fill it herself and add that additional strength on top to keep it together. And you guys, this is really dangerous. If you leave this and let it grow out and you don't add something to it to keep it from splitting, wrong finger. It can tear and pain and suffering.
Yeah.
So next, water damage. So Anna uses this example frequently on her lives with the book.
Thank you for the idea.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. So like when you get a book wet, those pages are never going to lay the same again. So, and if you look at it, like, look how similar this is, you guys.
I know.
Like, it's crazy. Again, this is the cross section of your free edge of what it looks like. So you have all of these itty bitty little layers and imperfections, and as soon as water gets in there,
shoves its way in there.
It blows up like a raisin, and then it as it dehydrates, it takes all of the oil with it, and then you have all of these layers floating in the wind, ready for peeling and damage. So again, pay attention to where you are in your nail growth life cycle, like what's going on in your current season, and be aware of that, and then put your darn nails in the greenhouse as much as you can. Like, get that greenhouse out, put those gloves on, do that hydration treatment, make sure that you're eating and taking your supplements. But honestly, at this point, when your nails have left the plate, these don't do anything at that point. The supplements and the diet, this is the nail has extended past that. So what it's doing when you do this, it's dead. This is investing in the new cells that are being born, little baby matrix cells,
the baby cells,
the little babies. So we want to invest in the new ones. So once you have free edge, the vitamins and the diet, that does nothing for this part. What it does is it helps this part.
Yep.
Hangnails. Tell us about the difference between a true hangnail and a sidewall tear.
Well, I mean, you know, we get these expressions for hangnails for anything that's happening around here, but when I think of a true hangnail, it's when the nail has split, like in this picture, where it's just a little bit and it's split and it'll tear down.
And it can tear all the way.
Those are the ones I rip.
Down.
I like to rip those. It's not good.
That's not good.
So, and then you end up with a week of an infection, and
because it compromises your guardian seal.
Yep.
And it's the perfect little crease right there for all the bacteria to hide and go have a party and leave things a mess. Woo.
Yep. So you got to file those. And then the other one, the next one that you have, those are these little sidewall hangnails. And I don't know, like if you look at that picture, it looks like it's skin. And so I think what happens is that, you know, we've got skin cells too, and the act of the pressure of this blade irritates the skin and has it become a callus. And so anyway, those are those little ones, and I don't fully understand them, but they're annoying, and I've
got one. Ooh, don't pick at it. I have one.
Yeah. So those, you need our little infant nail clippers, because you can see in that picture, they get right in there and they just nip that one little bit of loose skin. And then you don't mess with it, and then you oil and everything's good.
So the same thing with both of these, why it's really important to take care of these appropriately. So either filing this, or if it's down a little deeper, gently trimming it so it doesn't pull even deeper, because again, it compromises your guardian seals. Same with the skin. We want that skin there. I mean, not the peely part, but we need those guardian seals to keep us from getting infections. So
yeah, I took the week off and I did a ton of gardening, and I realized, oh wow, all of these little side calluses, they got so much harder and thicker, and it's like, oh, guess what I've been doing? Lots of pushing with my hands.
And so, and this is something that I've paid attention to as my nails have been growing out, as I've struggled with the biting and picking. There's a phase, like it's an in-between phase. So this would be in between beginning of spring and the pretty flowers, where, because here, if you have no free edge at all, it's just skin there. The nail plate is not touching the pads of your fingers at all. So as it grows out, all of a sudden, it's like, hey, who is this intruder? It tickles. It feels weird. So there's like a weird tingly sensation as your skin gets used to the free edge touching the pad of your finger. Well, not the pad, the tip of your finger. The tip. Yeah. So there is going to be some sensation. And for me and others who struggle with biting and picking, that new sensation all of a sudden is like, oh, that would fall into a cue in our habit loop of hey, I feel a trigger, a tinkle, a cue. I should pick at it. I should bite at it. So there's that hazard between, and I'm sure, I wonder if, I don't know, if trees felt something. Well, we could talk about deer, male deer, when their antlers first grow, they have so many blood vessels in their antlers. It's insane. And so as they grow from their little antler grow spots, I don't know what that's actually called. It's covered in felt. And so as they grow out, it's very itchy as they start to shed that velvet. And so they rub up against trees and jack crap up because they're trying to shed that itchy velvet on top of it, because it's that transition. And it is similar, like that velvet is in a sense kind of a free edge. The free edge is itchy. And so when the free edge touches the skin, it gets itchy. And so they're scraping off that extra thing.
I don't feel that. But maybe
don't at all?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
That is interesting.
Maybe it's just because I don't ever cut them that short.
Yeah, I've never seen yours with nubbins except for when you've accidentally broken one.
Right.
I've never seen you with full-on nubbins.
But what I experience is the opposite. So like when you get to that one where it's really been broken way over in winter, when I've had those, then I get the reverse, where I get the nerves here
that hurts,
have not been irritated or anything. And so then my fingers are that finger is really, really tender for like 2 days.
Yep. And when I bite too much or pick too, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like the nerves are like, hey, now we are exposed and naked. That's not very nice. We're going to squawk until somebody covers us. Okay. So back to where we were. So hangnails, sidewall tears. Take care of it appropriately. Get a travel kit. Keep it with you. Nip it in the bud. Boop, boop. The end. All right. Now we're going to get to weird stuff. So again, another disclaimer. Go see your doctor. Disclaimer. Please, 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 please. And I don't like going to doctors, but there are things that I go to a doctor for. Like when I had the bronchitis stuff, I knew it's like, oh, this is the thing that I must seek help for. So I don't cough up a lung or break a rib. We are not medical professionals. We do not pretend to be. We are not in any way trying to give you any kind of diagnoses with what we are sharing with you here. What we're trying to do is give you enough information so that you can communicate, figure out what's going on with you, and communicate to your medical professional things that might be going on so that you can get help. We're not your doctors. We love you. We want you to be healthy.
Exactly.
All right. Moving on. All right. You're going to pronounce this.
Onycholysis.
Onycholysis. Onycholysis. So this is our lovely Julia, and she's been sharing her photos recently, and thank you for letting us use this, Julia, of the onycholysis. So Anna, tell us.
And people will look at that and go, oh my God, that's a fungus. No, it's just areas where the nail plate has separated from the nail bed. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, especially if you're watching, as you're watching it grow. If you're watching it grow out and it's fine, then perfect. Like a lot of times I've gotten some that look like Julia's when I accidentally try and get somebody's put silverware in the dishwasher wrong, and I stabbed myself with a fork, and I know it didn't bleed or anything. It hurt like, but then I ended up with a nail that looked like her ring finger, and that's just because I had trauma that separated the two.
And so one of the things, and I called you and texted you a photo one day. I'm like, I think I have a fungus, because it did exactly this on this same finger. And you're like, how closely did it show up? It's like, just today. It's like, it's not a fungus. So one thing to remember, we'll talk about it more when we get to fungus. Fungus is slow. So think of the slug.
Slow.
It's very, very slow, and it just is a very gradual. It eats away the individual cells, and it does it very slow. So fungus. Think of fungus and slugs and slow or something.
This is another one that the people don't really know about, but it's, and you've probably seen it on Instagram where when they're doing acrylic and they put the form on, and then they put the acrylic on, and then as it's starting to cure, they will put a pair of special pliers, that will crimp it, so that it has a nice C curve, like the people who have C curves like me. So they'll crimp it, but the process of crimping it pulls up on the nail bed. And so it will actually separate. So like with Julia's photograph, like the whole area where that's all lifting and separating, like that can be through the whole nail bed. Because it's been pinched, and so the center has lifted up. So it's really important that we don't pinch our nails in that way.
No pinching. Yeah, that would explain some of the photos that I saw when I was looking for images for this. Again, if you need to stay up late at night, go ahead and look for nail images. If you want sleep at night, don't do it. So, all right, so I mean, one of the things, and go ahead.
The crimping is supposed to have made it so that it's got this perfect look for competitions, for nail art and nail enhancement competitions. It's not supposed to be forever. It's not good.
Yeah, and I think you and Rhea have said that it can also trap air in, or trap little air pocket where fungus can grow from the enhancement. So no crimping. Don't do it. So one of the things and that's what I found when I had the onycholysis, was it showed up after I was cleaning under my nail with
were you?
Yep,
We're cleaning under your nail with.
I was with an orange wood stick. I was being gentle, but it freaked me out. Oh my gosh, it was terrifying. So Anna has a video and an article of how to properly clean under your nail so that you do not separate. So you get to see these words too. So the reason we're seeing this whiteness is the guardian seal, which is called.
And that's the onychodermal band of the hyponychium.
So when that separates,
the onychodermal band is a lot of people right before your free edge. You'll see all of this pinker area. It's a band, and that is a band of scrunched up skin cells. It literally just like squish, and that's why it turns in. It's got a different color. And then the hyponychium is the actual end part of the seal.
Okay. So that is one of the reasons that we never ever scrape under the side with a metal tool or an orange wood stick, or the little thing that comes on your nail clippers. Don't use those, or your keys or your teeth or anything. We don't want to do anything sharp or hard underneath our nails because you end up with this because it breaks the seal.
You very easily can just by pushing too hard.
So even with teeth too, like if you're biting, this goes away and then you're exposed and stuff. So the best ways to clean under your nails that Anna goes through in the video is a Q-tip and rubbing alcohol.
Yep. And if you've got stuff that really down in that corner that drives everybody crazy, then you can use our nail brush or cleanup brush.
And one of the things I also do is my oil pen, because I can just swipe and kind of scoot it out to the side.
And shove that dirt out.
Yep. In a gentle way that does not compromise my hyponychium. I like it better, hyponychium, but I know that's not right.
I know.
All right, next one. This is kind of freaky.
Yeah, this is a new one. Doug is working on an article on this, which I'm editing right now, called the pterygium. And actually,
I spelled this wrong.
Yeah.
Sorry, everybody.
Oh, and what that just means is overgrowth of skin. And I guess apparently a pterygium shows up a lot in your eyes.
I saw some really scary images.
I bet. I don't think I've typed in pterygium into Google.
I didn't know I needed to type nail pterygium to get these, but there are also a lot worse images out there than this. So the brief thing that I read about is the skin grows up and it pinches the nail plate or nail. Anyway,
no, you're wrong.
Okay, Google's wrong. Tell me. Because like this one, because I saw it would bifurcate and dissect it in half, like as the skin grew up in between the nails. So tell us, please.
So what happens is, and you can kind of see it with this one that's lower, that's on the underside. Well, that's happening on the top side. So with these other images that are on the left. So what happens is the proximal fold starts growing over and bonding to the nail plate, and the eponychium, which is that layer of skin underneath your proximal fold. And do you have that photograph? Like
the photograph or the cross section?
I don't think. Okay, actually that helps. Okay, so the proximal nail fold starts to grow over the nail plate. And it just means overgrowth of skin, remember? But it's bonding to everything, and it's actually shortening the matrix.
Oh.
Your matrix starts to die.
Oh.
And the eponychium cells start to disappear. Okay? And so all of this, and so as a result of your matrix getting smaller, your nail plate that it creates is thinner. And so it's actually, and what it actually does, so when you go back to the other images where you can see it, it actually, that skin has bonded and destroyed the matrix and the eponychium cells.
So it's kind of like English ivy when it wraps around a tree and chokes it and kills it.
that's pretty much what it's done. Is so like this bottom one that has number 3, that matrix part has been completely destroyed, and that's why
so it just is not growing anymore. So it's not that there's nail under it. It's that the nail is only able to grow because the matrix is dead, is no longer producing. Wow, that's a much better explanation than what I got.
And the pterygium on the bottom tends to not be quite as big of an issue. You just can't cut it. It's full of nerves. It's full of blood. You cannot,
So,
not something you can just push back.
Like we had Pam in our group, I believe it was Pam, who's posted, because she's trying to push back her proximal fold. So I know we're not doctors and all those things. Does Doug have recommendations in the article that you're editing for what do you deal with this?
Nothing.
I saw some very terrifying images of surgery for this, but it did not look like it was a good solution.
There may be some, this is one of those things. I mean, the fact that he's just writing a more in-depth article right now is the indication that
we don't really have a good solution.
Complicated. Yet. We keep getting new information. So I'm sure he will be writing.
That if it is strangling your nail cells here in the matrix, like if it's cutting off blood flow, anyway, that makes sense. It's like, we're cutting you off. Oh, no more growth. Sorry.
No more.
Anyway, so talk to your doctor.
So, I mean, that's a big deal when I talk about sections of your matrix can die. So, like for that, there's still half the matrix. That's why there's still half of a nail. So, yeah.
Anyway.
It's unfortunate, and we don't know why it happens. At least so far
Not
that
yet.
I
Okay,
read.
Get to work, Doug. Find some solutions. All right, fungus and bacteria. I like this image because it juxtaposes the two next to each other. Both of these are very serious.
Bacteria is usually the blue and the green.
It is fast moving. This will be painful. You will have inflammation.
It's you usually get it with acrylic because they didn't cleanse the nail and dry out the top surface of the nail plate enough. So if the nail top surface layers are not dehydrated enough, you've got to get that water out. If they are not, then the moisture gets trapped in there underneath the acrylic and
So again, this is another important reason to go to a qualified nail tech who sanitizes their stuff appropriately and who knows how to practice the proper techniques to avoid this kind of situation. So this, you need antibiotics.
Yep, they're not your $20 chop shops.
Nope. So don't skimp on it. If you're investing in your nails, invest in your nails. Jewels. Exactly. They're jewels, people. We don't want them to fall off and lose them. And then
Fungal infections. So, nail fungus is a big deal, especially it's a really big deal with our feet. And that's because fungus likes a nice, moist, warm environment.
And dark.
Yep. And it's easily transferred through other moist environments that may be shared. So it's classic that
showers at the swimming pool.
You'll pick it up at the community swimming pool shower. Or if you go camping and you use a community shower there, that's why you should always wear flip-flops.
Or improperly cleaned pedicure things like that. Doug, that's another thing that'll keep you up at night is reading through Doug's stuff on when things aren't properly sanitized. Whoa.
Oh boy.
Terrible.
Yeah.
So, and again, there are a bunch of different types of fungus too. So it doesn't always look like this.
They don't. And, but when it's so slow growing, I mean, sometimes to get really bad, it takes years. And this is why we tend to see, like, if you're looking at older men, because they don't care. They don't care. So you'll see them and they'll be wearing sandals or flip-flops, and it's like you look at their big toes and you're like, oh my God. And they're really thick and they look like they're crumbly. That's the fungus that's been consuming the keratin, and so it just leaves it all crumbly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's incredibly, incredibly difficult to treat. So for a product to say it can cure toenail fungus, it's lying. So it's very hard. Still working on figuring out a solution for that. Feel like it'll be the holy grail.
It will. And so it is one of the challenges of why it's so hard to effectively treat is because, one, there are so many stinking different types of it. So one thing that may work for one fungus may not work for another. And so a lot of them, you need to have them treated systemically because it's in your body. So that means you have to take an oral antifungal something. Those are not very fun either. It's hard on your body.
Hard on your kidneys.
Hard on your kidneys.
You have to draw blood and every 3 weeks, I think, or every week for the 3 weeks to make sure that your kidneys are still functioning okay. I did that once, but then it worked great. But then about 5 years later, it came back, and it's just because I live in closed-toed shoes in Washington, where it's mostly dark during the year, and so.
And we want to, like, the worst part is if it gets to your nail matrix. If it gets to your nail matrix, you're cooked. Like, it's like, you're done. There's no way that we have at least to effectively eradicate fungal
it's really
stuff that's
difficult.
your stem
I've been working on it, and I think I might have figured it out. But what I ended up doing, so I have had an issue with one of my toenails, and what I ended up doing, and I was kind of dramatic, but I made this choice to not go to the doctor. And what I did was I trimmed away all of that damaged stuff, because in order for any oil, vinegar, Listerine, whatever, there's some of these things out there, and the reason it's so difficult is because the nail plate is thick. It protects. It doesn't want to absorb things, medications. And so to have it go through all of those layers and kill all of that fungus, it's difficult.
Yep. So that being said,
go to your doctor.
Beware of antifungal claims. Like, in all honesty, this is something you don't really want to mess around with. You have time to get it fixed, but the sooner you take care of it, the better. Like the way that the fungus eats the individual cells and
it's just going to keep
working its way up there. So it's, I don't know why, but I just keep thinking of a slow moving slug. Yeah, it's moving slowly and everything, but if you just hold still, it's going to eat all of it, like your carrot or whatever it is. But all you have to do is like move those slug or like do something about it to prevent that slow, gradual consumption of your nail cells.
Right.
Okay. Whew. Talk to your doctor. Parrot beak nails. So these next ones are signs of potentially life-threatening conditions. So please.
Potentially. I know somebody who has parrot beak nails, and it's just the way her nails are. There's nothing wrong. It's impossible for her to have acrylics because those nails will pull the acrylic, and so it makes the acrylic just pop off.
And so it can be a genetic shape of your nails, and it can also be indicative of another health condition.
Yeah, so that would be something to check out and make sure that your doctor does all the blood work to make sure that you're fine.
Yep. So same with all of these. It could be okay, but yep.
This is definitely most often a health issue.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not if you were born with it.
Mm-hmm.
If it suddenly starts to show up, like over the last 6 months, your nails are starting to and your fingers start to look puffier and stuff, then it's definitely time to go see the doctor.
So, I mean, that kind of goes in with everything of just pay attention to your body and what's normal for you. And with anything, if anything suddenly changes or even begins to gradually change, take note of it. It's a message. It's something. It's like that's an indication that something.
The good thing is that for the most part, you've got time.
Yeah.
I mean, your nails grow really slowly, so the fact that you can't get in to see your doctor for 3 months, it's fine.
It'll be okay. You may freak out a little bit, but just talk to us on the nail group. We'll give you comfort
in the group. Yes.
It's like we will give you your support. So spoon nails.
This is really interesting. They are spoon nails, but if you look at these are incredibly dry.
Mm-hmm.
Incredibly dry.
And look at that.
These nails actually would be helped with a hydration treatment. But this person, so this is a great example of what would happen to your nails if the nail bed was not functioning properly and you were not getting the right blend of moisture and oil pushed through. But the fact that you can see the spoon and it's still connected to the finger, whether this one in particular is a health issue, I don't know. For some people, it's just sort of the natural shape, just kind of like yours sort of lift up a little bit.
Yep.
So this is definitely, if it starts to suddenly show up. When we say suddenly, that means like 6 months.
6 months. Suddenly for nails, it's like nail time. 4 to 6 months is the length that it takes to grow out. So it's kind of like sending a Pony Express message instead of a text of your nails do Pony Express of if you have a health issue, you're going to see it Pony Express speed 4 to 6 months down the road by the time the message gets there instead of a text. I do weird things. All right, next one, Beau's lines.
Beau's lines. These were discovered by a gentleman, and his last name was Beau. And basically, he realized that your nails, our nails are always growing, but the speed at what they grow, depending on what's going on in your life, your health, your stress level, the cells can slow down. So your body's need to preserve itself and your core, your nails can actually come to almost a grinding halt. And what happens is the cells all bunch together and you end up with this groove and the sides around it kind of bunched up. So, and as you can see with this person, it's growing out fine. There's no new lines back by the cuticle lines. That just means either a massive stress, physical or even emotional. I've got these twice. I got one on each toenail, on a large toenail. I think it was the same one, but when our first child died, and then when my husband lost his job, and he was the sole breadwinner, and so we started this business, and it was incredibly stressful. I also looked at it from the geeky side of, oh, wow, I have a marker. And so I found out exactly how long it takes my toenail to replace itself. I just watched this line grow, and it took an entire year. It was, me being geeky.
So again, this is a Pony Express message.
Yeah, exactly. And that one's usually no big deal. It can be a big deal if it shows up on all of your nails. I would definitely get that checked out. But if it shows up on just one, I wouldn't worry about it.
Cool. And we have
as a non-doctor.
Right, totally. Then we have pitting. So this is common with psoriasis.
Yes.
Apparently.
And that can cause, actually you can kind of see it, the onycholysis of the sides are lifting off the nail bed as well. So that's just psoriasis and you can have psoriasis in the nail plate and have no psoriasis on your skin. So
there are a lot of different types of psoriasis, I have learned. And the treatments vary depending on each different type. And, this is an autoimmune type of thing. So it's, again, this is where if you can,
I don't know.
Address your health, like take care of what you're eating, take supplements, visit your doctor, reduce stresses. And you know what? I get it. There are some situations like my life, most of the time, there is stress that I cannot change. It's so, and like this kind of leads us in to wrap this up of figure out what you can control and what you can't. Where are you in your season of life? What region of your life are you in? It's like, even if we talk about, Anna and I were laughing about this when we were talking about it before we recorded, of like, you go from a teenager and everything's beautiful and firm and not saggy. And then you have a couple kids and then that changes everything. So that's a different season in and of itself. And then your kids become teenagers and then you get all the gray hairs.
Oh, gosh,
and then like you continue to age, and then women, we hit menopause, and then you get the hot flashes and everything else that's going on. So it's important to have that mindset of flexibility of what's my normal right now, and fully expect that that's going to change. We're also talking
your
about
nails. Yeah, your nails are never constant.
Never,
it's
ever,
like,
ever.
oh, what they were like last year doesn't mean it's the same this year. It's like, sorry.
Yep. And it's, we talked about too, is like when your kids are toddlers, so sorry if you don't have kids, but you go, it's like, okay, I think I just figured everything out. I know their favorite food. We have the sleep routine. We have the favorite book. We do all of this. And then the very next day or the same afternoon, all of the things that worked
It's gone.
no longer work. So you got to start from scratch and figure that out all over again. So it's when you have the mindset, and this is the quote that Anna made me make a slide of, the only thing constant in life is change. So when you are able to set that expectation in your brain of, well, the only thing I can depend on is change. It's going to change, and that's normal. And that's the normal. Change is normal. Then you can look at it in a different way instead of feeling so frustrated of what is wrong with me. It's like, nothing's wrong. It's just changing. So just be okay with that. Be gentle with yourselves. It's, if we don't change, we die. If we stop moving, we die. And we are trying to stay alive. So being okay with that variation in wherever you are in your life, whatever is going on, let it be okay if things aren't okay, and do what you can with what you've got. So in summary, if you've hung with us this long,
congratulations.
Congratulations.
You win a prize. I don't know what it is.
The summary slide. So put your nails in the greenhouse as much as you can. If you want to change the results, you need to control the environment and the conditions that your nails are exposed to. You want to pay attention to your habit loops. So the habit loops, that helps you support taking care of things in the greenhouse. Like Anna said, it's like if you've got the whiteflies or something, you can still get an infestation in the greenhouse. You can have all sorts of other problems in the greenhouse. It's just a more controlled, you have the option and the ability to control a lot more things in that kind of environment.
Exactly.
It doesn't mean it's perfect. It just means that you're able to address things and see them quicker and take care of them in a different way.
Exactly.
So that's the habit loops of take your vitamins, drink extra water, eat healthy food, make those habit loops, do what you can. Remember that all of the weird stuff that's happening, it's just a message. Sometimes it's Pony Express. Sometimes it's a text message, super fast, super slow, but most of the time your nails are going to give you Pony Express message. And most importantly, when in doubt, consult your physician.
Yep.
So thank you for sticking with us through week 3. Next week, we will be talking of tying all of this stuff together and how it translates to nail art, which is exciting. And then that will lead us into the color theory course that's coming out hopefully in September if we get everything.
Please let me get this done.
Working. I know we've talked about it a lot this spring, and it got delayed because of the sale and the challenge and life and everything else. So again, look at us practicing being okay with things not being okay.
With stress,
whatever season we're in. It's like, oh, hey, we have this idea this season. It's like, oh, well, we can't actually do that until fall, literally. Right. We were in spring, and now we got to wait till fall.
Right.
So, it will get there, and it will be great. And so we hope that this has given you guys some insight and some helpful information to normalize where you are in your life right now, and,
have it be okay.
And be okay. Be okay.
We'll all be okay.
All right. We'll see y'all in the next
week.
And take care. Bye.